I went from 1400 to 2100 in just 2 months, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how I did it. The only thing I cared about during these games were the weaknesses. A weakness is a square that is attacked more times than it is defended.
Look at this dude.
And with that in mind, let's go into the first game. Alright, so we have a Sicilian on the board. Everything is developed all very nicely, and he gives me a pawn. That's a free pawn. I really don't think this is theory, so I just take it. Attack to my knight, I drop back, and then he wants to exchange some more pawns, which is fine by me because I am up a pawn. So I take it, he takes with the queen, and I attack the queen, of course. He goes back, and then I am just gonna develop everything else, all very nicely. And then at this point, I force my opponent to take the knight on f6. Then we exchange a couple more things. He goes c3, I go b5, gaining some space. He gets the queen out of the way, I develop my bishop, and then he moves his bishop back because, of course, that is such a natural move. Nope, he wants to take the weakness on h7, which happens to be a checkmate. So let's not fall for that, alright? I just go g6, and he goes knight to d4, giving me the possibility of giving him an isolated pawn. I just take the knight. He takes with the queen, I take back, and of course I grab the open file. He wants to fight for it, but I think it's a little bit too late because I can double up my rooks. He takes, I take back, and now he brings the king closer and I start pushing the pawns. I go b4, threatening a couple of things, but he wants to keep exchanging everything. I give a little check first, and when he moves, now I take the rook, and when he takes, I go bishop c4 to make him play b3, a very ugly move because it locks everything from this side of the board. I bring my bishop back, and he wants to exchange even more pieces. Now, should I take the bishop on d3? Yes? No? Yes, because I am up a pawn, and he has an isolated pawn right here. But what the hell does that mean? That means that I will create a passed pawn. Let me show you how. First, we exchange everything. I bring my king closer. He brings his king closer. King f5. He wants to go g4. Of course, I'm not gonna let him do that, but he insists. So you know what? You can go g4. I don't care. I will create a passed pawn instead. So first I go f6. He goes g4. We take, and I get my king out of the way. King to f2, and of course I bring my king closer. Now, of course, I could go for the pawn like this, but why have mercy? Let's torture him a little bit more and create a passed pawn. So I go pawn to e5 here, and you pretty much have to take it. I take back, king to f2, I push my passed pawn, and after king to e2 and king g3, he resigns because there's no way to defend this pawn anymore. So this is game over. Now in the second game, of course, we play a queen's gambit, and he goes for this counter attack variation, which is usually very annoying, but it doesn't matter. We keep developing everything. He gives me a check, I block, he takes, and then he goes e4, removing the tension really early. Now I can get rid of your body, and when you take, I develop the knight with a tempo on the queen, and when he moves, I can attack the pawn again. Of course, he goes knight f6, and I go for a very early attack. But why am I attacking if I haven't even castled? Half my pieces are not even developed. Well, there's a reason. First of all, this pawn is attacked twice. He goes knight to a6 to defend it. I could take it now. It's only defended once, but I attack it just one more time because I know this guy is passive, so he will freak out. How do I know that though? Well, in the opening when he went pawn to e4, getting rid of this super annoying tension, this tells me that he doesn't like problems. He wants it easy. He wants to chill. So when I go rook to c1, what is the easy way to get rid of this weakness? Pushing the pawn. But that's a horrible move. Whenever you push a pawn, you are leaving two weaknesses behind. The pawn is not defending b6 or d6 anymore. b6 is still defended by this pawn, but d6 is not defended by anybody. And that is a royal fork, attacking the king and the queen at the same time. Of course, I just take the queen, and he wants to keep playing. First, I create another weakness by taking the knight on a6. When he takes back, now the pawn on c6 is weak. But let's not rush into anything. I'm slowly going to castle first. King to g7, and I take the pawn now. Now he attacks the queen, but it's just a matter of getting the queen out of danger and exchanging everything else. I bring the rook behind the pawn, he attacks my queen, I go back, he attacks my knight, I go back, and he keeps attacking now. But it's a little bit too late to be aggressive, buddy. He goes f6, and I force the exchange of the knights. Take back with the rook, and then I just double my rooks on the c file. Pretty much just forcing all the exchanges that happen next, and just winning the game in a couple moves. And now we're finally 1700, and we go into the third game with a ready opening. And this is the setup with the black pieces that got me to 2100. I did this exact same thing over and over again. Of course, except against e4, then I go with the Sicilian. But everything else, this is the setup. No theory involved. Just a very solid opening that develops every piece of yours very easily. Then bishop b7, and look at this. This looks absolutely amazing. Then he goes c4, I put the rook on an x-ray with the queen. He takes, I take with the pawn, and he attacks my rook, which is not really a problem, I just lift it. He goes knight to b3, and I go c4, sacrificing a pawn, but opening things up around the queen a little bit more. He attacks the rook, I block with the bishop, he takes take, and he finally takes the pawn on c4. I take back, and he attacks my queen. Here's the thing, I don't have to move my queen anywhere, because I can take your knight first, and if you take my queen now, then I take your queen, and I took your queen and your knight, and you only took my queen. You see that magic trick? So he sees that, and he takes the pawn instead. Now I get my queen out of the attack, and I'm up a piece. I just have to exchange everything else, and that's it. So I go for his knight, but he doesn't want to. Then I go for the bishop, and he doesn't want that either. either. Bro, I'm trying to win right here. So I try to double the rooks on the d file. He goes e3, but then I change my mind and I go bishop b7, trying to exchange the bishops again. He attacks my queen first. I bring the queen back, and he takes my rook. Beautiful, we have some exchanges. Then he attacks my queen, I block with the rook, and he finally decides to exchange some pieces. Now we just have to get rid of the queens, and that's it. He attacks my queen first, and that is the perfect opportunity to take his queen too. I go knight to f3 check, and wherever the king goes, I have a discovered check. Oh no, my queen, but oh no, his queen. And now the queens are gone. It's 2 knights versus 1. Things could not get easier. And not even that, I also trap his knight. I go knight to e8, so he can't go to d6. Then I slowly bring my king closer, and this knight can't go anywhere. Then I go for his knight, he goes for my knight, but I just go knight to c1, and he resigns. In case you don't know, I'm 2000 blitz, 2000 bullet, and 2100 rapid, which is what you're seeing right now. All of that was easily achieved, focusing on the weaknesses, not studying openings or anything. Just weaknesses, very simple. Just try it once in your next game and you will see an extreme change. Part 4 is coming up in a couple days. You don't want to miss it. So subscribe and turn on the notifications. Now we'll see you in the next game.